All right, everyone, I just wanted to do a quick briefing with you all. From here, it'll take about 4 to 5 days to get 200-300 miles southwest of the Galapagos Islands. A year ago, there was a lot of media attention about a fleet of 340 Chinese squid vessels that were concentrated outside of the Galapagos Islands. There's over 200 of these vessels now. 11 of these vessels have been arrested for illegal fishing offenses elsewhere. The purpose of this mission is to document, investigate, see what we find. We're in an area where we're surrounded on all sides by about 37 vessels, all squid jiggers. These vessels are lit up as far as you can see. This is like coming into a city in a desert at night. Like the Great Wall of China, you can see this from space. In the year 2020, when over 300 Chinese squid vessels congregated around a high seas pocket between Ecuadorian waters and the Galápagos Marine Reserve, it ignited a media storm with allegations of illegal fishing and concerns about the delicate, pristine Galápagos marine ecosystem. Local communities in the Galápagos called on Sea Shepherd to intercept this squid fleet. And in July 2021, we set sail from Callao, Peru, to find out who they are and to find out what they were doing. To understand how the Chinese distant water fishing fleet arrived on Darwin's doorstep, we have to rewind the tape. In 1985, the Chinese government introduced the China National Fisheries Law, a direct response to plummeting fish populations domestically and an attempt by the government to export the overfishing problem abroad. As populations of sharks and other predatory fish have fallen by as much as 90% in the past 50 years, industrial fishing vessels have started fishing down the food web, targeting other species like squid. The International Union for the Conservation of Nature has designated the status of the jumbo flying squid as unknown in terms of abundance and distribution. And because of that, the precautionary principle has to be adopted. The jumbo flying squid is also a critical food source for sharks and for the Galapagos fur seal. By 2020, the Chinese distant water fishing fleet is the single largest in the world and is first in prevalence of illegal, unreported, and unregulated fishing. The most notorious company within the Chinese distant water fishing fleet, Pingtan Marine Enterprises. Sea Shepherd first encountered Pingtan Marine in the Indian Ocean in 2016 when stumbling across 6 vessels that were using illegal drift nets to catch marine wildlife. The 6 drift net vessels were escorted back into China, and the Chinese Bureau of Fisheries sanctioned all 6 vessels. 1 year later, Sea Shepherd assisted the National Police of Timor-Leste to arrest 15 vessels with a catch that was 95% sharks. Sea Shepherd documented this fleet of 15 vessels transshipping to a refrigerated cargo vessel called the Fu Yang Yu Lang 999, a vessel that would later be arrested while transiting through the Galápagos Marine Reserve with over 6,000 dead sharks on board. But Sea Shepherd knew that other vessels belonging to Pingtan Marine were engaged in the Chinese squid fishery. On the first day, we came across the Lu Rung Yun Yu 881, a name familiar to me because in 2017, we assisted the Liberian Coast Guard to arrest the Lu Rung Yun Yu 988, a vessel arrested for illegal fishing in Liberian waters and for attempted bribery of the Liberian Coast Guard. 4 of its sister ships had been detected fishing illegally in Argentine waters. 1 had even been arrested. Another vessel in the fleet had been arrested in Ghana, engaged in the practice of psycho fishing, where industrial trawlers steal from local fishermen and then sell the stolen catch back to them. The Lu Rung Yun Yu 881 was transmitting an MMSI number that was being used by another vessel off the coast of China, also transmitting a radio call sign number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, an obvious fake. Behind me is the Lu Rong Yan Yu 702. This is a vessel that's transmitting two unique electronic identities at the same time. We're currently with the Lu Rong Yu 609, which has been transmitting two different AIS identities. Behind me is the Ning Tang 65. One identity actually matches with the name on the hull, but the other identity is attributed to a search and rescue aircraft. Clearly, this is not a search and rescue aircraft. This is more likely a vessel that's in need of rescuing. An MMSI number is a unique 9-digit number that identifies the ship transmitting. Because these Chinese squid vessels are required by international law to transmit their details, they routinely fudge their MMSI numbers to deliberately mislead law enforcement authorities who are tracking their movements ashore. We came across a number of vessels transmitting an MMSI number of 412000000, a supposedly unique number that's being used by 55 vessels globally, including an alleged cargo vessel, a so-called tug, and even a quote-unquote law-enforced vessel. It's absurd. Any monitoring, control, and surveillance center can see this deliberate fraud. It's an open secret that the Chinese squid fleet is manipulating their electronic identities. As fish populations have plummeted and fishing vessels have to go out further and stay out longer to catch fewer fish, there are certain fixed costs that are unavoidable for their operations. They're going to use the same amount of fuel, the same amount of fishing gear, and so these fishing vessels have cut down on labor. This is why forced labor is a serious issue in the industrial fishing industry. The Chinese squid fleet is able to refuel at sea, offload their catch at sea, and therefore some of these vessels have been out at sea for over a year and a half. These people generally sign 2 to 3 year contracts. They're paid $150 a month. The crewing agency that recruited them keeps the first 6 months of their wages, and they sometimes even hold on to the deeds of their homes. So if they don't complete the entire contract, they lose their house. We came across the Shanghai 802, a vessel with a known history of allegations of forced labor. So we launched our small boat in a bid to communicate with the Indonesian crew on board.
Are you okay? You're stuck there? You want to go home?
We met one man, and over 1 year after the World Health Organization declared COVID-19 a pandemic, he asked us if COVID-19 had made it to the United States yet. That's how long this man had been at sea. We documented the Huali 18, a vessel that in 2016, together with 2 other vessels, was arrested in South Africa with 600 tons of squid on board. The Huali 18 is the sister ship of the Huali 8, a vessel that is a case study on how these illegal fishing operators work.
Revoluciones de máquinas. 1000.
In 2016, the Huali 8 was detected fishing illegally in Argentine waters. The Argentine Navy intercepted them, warning shots were fired, a 5-hour chase ensued, but ultimately the vessel got away. It was then arrested in Indonesia on charges of human trafficking, and in 2019, the Huali 8, together with the Huali 18, were suspected of fishing illegally in the waters of Peru. Before leaving the Chinese squid fleet, we came across a tanker known to refuel Pingtan Marine Enterprise vessels, bringing us full circle to why we set off on this mission to begin with. That tanker is managed by a company that's been suspected of violating United Nations sanctions on North Korea. Despite all of the things that we uncovered, the South Pacific Regional Fisheries Management Organization, the intergovernmental body responsible for putting these vessels on an authorization list, over 600 vessels authorized to fish, they do not have a single one of these vessels on their blacklist. Sea Shepherd will continue to document any illicit activity by these vessels, deterring any illegal fishing in protected areas and in the sovereign waters of Latin American countries. we will take a stand for critical marine ecosystems like the Galapagos Islands. Until the world's governments take responsibility, Sea Shepherd will hold these vessels accountable.